called the old fintechs. That's not it.
And we want to get to very, very similar places. I think we have way more similarities than we do differences. I think if I was to highlight the few differences we have, one would be, yes, we're applying for a full UK banking license right now. We expect to get that this summer. It's a long and very painful process, but once you're there, it's an enormous asset. Secondly, we're also building our core technology from scratch and not, so I won't pick on number 26, but let's take Simple.com as an example. Simple was based on Bank Core, and again tried to build and release products, and Bank Core said either, no, our technology systems won't support it, or secondly, our compliance, risk, legal teams won't let you do that. And so both by having your own license and your own technology stack, both of those things become solvable, they become your problem. You can have a direct conversation with the regulator about pushing the boundaries. And actually the regulator is much less conservative than you'd be led to believe, because banks' risk departments become ossified, they calcified, like old bones, brittle. They're designed to prevent change. In fact, much of a bank's policies and procedures and systems are designed to prevent change, which is terrible. And a startup is the opposite. You know, you're trying to change things to see what works, and obviously the advantage is we have no and disadvantage is we have no customers. So it's very easy to quickly iterate. So yeah, quickly to summarize, the banking license is important, the tech is important, and then the customer interface and the user interface and the obsession with design and product, which I think number 26 has in spades. I think that's really the three core pillars.
So just can you come back, why you want this banking license? We just say CRO, it can be very nice without a banking license.
So it puts your destiny in your control, really. So it does a number of things. You can connect directly into payment schemes with a banking license as a principal member. So you can become a principal member of SEPA or Faster Payments or BACS, and you cannot do that without a banking license. Secondly, it lets you write your own policies and procedures. And these are the things which say, you know, it takes 8 minutes to sign up for a bank account or 10 minutes or whatever. I mean, you can sign up to a Mondo account in 60 seconds, and I'll give you the card right now and you can use it, because we're able to write those policies and procedures. And these are live cards. You'll afterwards come and see me. I've got about a dozen if you'd like to try.
Don't forget to keep mine.
So yeah, it just puts your destiny in your own control. You know, you're not reliant. And I'm sure over a beer later tonight, Valentin will tell you about his relationships with Wirecard. I'm sure it's a great relationship, but there are times when you're like, I want to do this thing, and they're like, come back next year.
Yeah, but if I may, when we discuss with Mari, for example, to prepare, with rights comes obligations. So if you have the right to be a bank, you will have the obligations of the bank, and sometimes it's difficult. It's
very difficult, yeah. So, I mean, a number of problems, right? You have to raise a lot of capital, which is not a problem for number 26 at the moment, it seems. But raising funding, you have to raise probably £20 million, so 25 million euros minimum to launch. Secondly, you have to pack your team and your board full of bankers. We now have over 200 years of retail banking experience on the team, and they're great people. But they're also expensive, you know, and they come with a lot of history. We can't just rely on a bunch of really smart 25-year-olds. So that tends to slow things down. We've submitted a license application which is 2,500 pages long. And by the time we're regulated, that'll be more like 5,000 pages of policies, procedures, risk governance. The board and the board committees is just astonishing, you know, audit committee, remuneration committee, nomination committee, risk committee. It's like we missed one or two off and the regulator's like, you forgot one. Like,
I must say, when I met Tom, there were 4 in an open space with a baby food and some bikes just behind, and 2 other companies doing something else. So long way in 6 months.
Yeah. So we've got our own office, great. We're up to about 20 people. We've just raised some funding, which we'll be announcing shortly. We've got about 30,000 customers waiting for an account. About 1,000, maybe 1,500 have an account now. We started rolling them out last month. So we're making good progress. Yeah, long way to go.
Just because we've been very quick directly on the subject, what is the position of Mondo? I mean, what is the difference with Mondo, besides that you are a new guy, 25 years or 30 years, and plenty of innovation? What is new for the customer? What will you give to me which is different?
That's a really good question.
Thank you for me.
And it's not the same as all of it. a banker often asks us that, and it's like, it's not price, or although everything is free, there are just no charges. You know, imagine back the time where you had like Hotmail and Yahoo Mail and someone else, and it was always like you get 50 megabytes of storage, and it costs like, maybe you pay $10 for that, and you can upgrade to $50, and then Gmail comes in and says, unlimited storage and free. And everyone will start looking around going, what just happened? What just happened? I think that's going to happen in banking. So we will offer you a current account, 0 fees, 0 charges. We'll give you a mobile interface that just works, you know, in the sort of Apple sense of the word, that it's delightful to use, so that you can control your entire financial life from your mobile. You don't have to sit there on a Sunday night doing the sums. It's instant glances and nudges to run your finances.
What about was saying, when you don't pay, you are the product somewhere. So you say everything is free. So I mean, on Google, I know I am the product. My data is a product. So
in the short term, we will lend, and you will pay if you want to lend. If you don't want to borrow, you can say no, and we won't charge you. But if you do want to borrow, we'll offer you a loan, an overdraft at a fair price. But you can say no, and it will cost you nothing.
Okay.
In the longer term,
not everything free. Okay.
So I think in the longer term, absolutely similar to number 26, in that I see banking as the future of banking is as a marketplace. So not even necessarily exclusive partnerships with, you know, one foreign exchange person, one lender, one mortgage provider. We've already opened APIs to enable people to build apps on top of Mondo. So whether it's expense reporting, or splitting bills with friends, or managing a small business, you can build applications on top of your data. And we can open up marketplaces. So if you want a financial product, or you want discount or loyalty, any of these products can be built on top of the API. And that brings revenue opportunities.
Valentin just explained us Europe directly, 8 countries, and soon 27. When we discussed together, I told you, do you want to come to Paris Fintech Forum? You told me, I don't want to launch in France. So, can you tell me more about perhaps why you don't like France, or more because you want really to focus on one country? I don't know.
So the most important thing is to make sure we're making something people love. And that's, not very many people say that about a bank account. But for us, it's to make a product that's so delightful that people smile when they use it, and they tell all their friends about it, and they like literally queue in a waiting line to get access to the account. And making sure that that is perfect is more important than going to 15 countries on day one. It's about getting the product absolutely right, because once the product is right, it then scales globally very, very quickly. I think.
So strategy is first to do it the best in UK, and after you'll see. Last question with you. We were discussing this morning also about different regulation in different countries. You just mentioned that it was very difficult to become a bank, but I heard that it was quite not so difficult in UK compared to perhaps some other. You discussed that with your friends, I'm sure, with other countries. What do you think about the UK position with fintechs?
Yeah, so it's become easier. So it used to be impossible, and now it's just really, really, really hard. It is right that obtaining a banking license is difficult. The responsibility of running a bank, of taking deposits and of lending those deposits out at risk, is a huge responsibility, and it is correct that it's tightly regulated. However, the UK is more progressive. You compare it to the US in particular. The US, they're trying to shut down the number of banks. There are so many. It's typically Midwestern credit unions, very, very small banks with very, very poor IT and risk controls. They're trying to reduce the number of banks. So Standard Treasury attempted to become a bank and failed and sold to Silicon Valley Bank, I believe. And a number of people are coming to Europe. So I think European-wide, there was a regulatory change in March 2013, which brought down the capital requirements across the whole of Europe. I think Payment Service Directive 1 introduced the PI license, the e-money license, which again made the regulatory system across Europe harmonized and a lower barrier. I think the UK in particular is pushing it. It's very, very high on the political agenda. David Cameron and the Conservative government are pushing it very hard in a political sense. I'm pulled into 10 Downing Street about once a month to talk to policy advisors, to try and reduce the barriers to entry, to try and increase innovation. Britain sees financial technology as its future.